Everything looks better with a dram in your hand.
Hello and welcome back to the Cask 88 lock-in. This is week 5. We've been going for quite a while, but things are finally starting to settle down into some kind of normality around here. This week, we're heading Antipodean to discover that they take making whiskey just as seriously down under as we do up here. We're getting up close and personal with the soul of Glasgow's music scene, or as close as we can with social distancing, and we're learning how to win over hearts and minds with a powerful whiskey cocktail. In addition, if you want to get a little competitive with me, I'll be playing a game of whiskey or wine with Andy Kelly, who you might remember from last week. In all honesty, with a show so intricate and complex, I'm amazed we've managed to pull it all together in lockdown, and all that without so much as a single continuity error. Excuse me. On with the show. There are many ways in which whiskey can call on us to serve. You can taste it, you can talk about it, you can research and analyse it at length, or you can make the stuff. And it feels that my next guest, Craig Johnston, has done pretty much the lot of it. Having cut his teeth on a variety of roles here in Scotland, he then turned his world upside down, moved to Tasmania, and is now Quality Control Manager at Lark Distillery in Hobart. He joins me now. Craig Johnston, welcome.
Thanks, Sam. It's good to be here.
So it really feels like you've had an extraordinary variety of roles across the whiskey industry, starting at Glenkinchie, going via the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, a stint at Bruichladdich, and now you're at Lark. Guiding, promoting, creating, tasting. How has each role changed your outlook on the whiskey in your care?
I think you're correct in that the breadth of these roles and also the different people and philosophies I've come across have stood me in really good stead to get to where I'm at. And I got a call from Chris Thompson, who is the head distiller down here at Lark, who I still work with today. And him and I had met at Edinburgh while I was at the Malt Whisky Society. And the massive hole in my entire experience was actually producing the stuff. So, and sent him my CV. And I went through the interview process, and in 2014 was invited down here to Tassie to learn on the distilling floor. And my eyes were yet again opened in such an incredible way, where now, as I say, I get to essentially cast my eye over everything that leaves Lark Distillery, whether as whiskey or gin or, these days hand sanitizer. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster.
Tasmania is on its way to becoming a real whiskey producing powerhouse, which I'm not sure that everybody knows about, but there's coming up to 60 distilleries on the island. So what is it that makes Tassie such a hotspot for whiskey?
So the industry was started in 1992 by Bill Lark, who founded Lark Distilling Company. I mean, the story goes that him and his brother-in-law were they were on a fishing trip, and they stopped in a park in Bothwell, which is in the Highlands of Tassie, to have a dram and a barbecue. And they were having a Glenfiddich, and his brother-in-law said to him, "Why has no one decided to make this in Tasmania?" Probably set a little bit of a seed in Bill's brain, and he went away and researched it and found this draconian law from the 1800s that said you couldn't have a distillery that was basically smaller than a certain size. I think it was something like 200,000 litres a year. So he went and spoke to friends of his and managed to get in touch with government, and eventually they changed the law that started allowing craft scale distilling in Australia with a licence. But what he's managed to do is he's managed to inspire lots of people to take up this opportunity. Or because he'd done the groundwork, he'd found a local boiler maker who made stills for him. So suddenly we have a still, a coppersmith industry. So our quarter cask here in Australia is 100 litres, and that's simply because that's how much whiskey Bill made with one batch of his still. So the cask size was actually set around what Bill started to do as well. And because the costs in terms of setup of the actual equipment are actually not too prohibitive, because you can make on a small scale, more and more people basically jumped on the bandwagon. But then Sullivan's Cove, for one of their older products, won Best Whiskey in the World. And that set the Tassie industry off. It's a real bizarre landscape of, as you say, 60 odd players. Everyone does their own thing and puts their own twist on it. It's a phenomenal place to be. It's a real it's a hotbed for innovation.
Does it feel like Tassie whiskey at the moment is developing a kind of identity, or is actually the identity the sheer variety of it?
I'd say the identity is pretty much the variety of it, where almost everyone has taken some inspiration from Bill. So if you were to say there was a style, I would say from a new make spirit, it's pretty oily, because the stills that we have are very short. That oiliness of spirit is to me something that I never got to play with in Scotland. You never see that small size. To play with that from a malt whiskey perspective, and also then knowing all the tricks of the trade from back home is phenomenal. Yeah. So I'd say the small still heavy spirit is probably as close to a style as you can say that Tassie has.
This question really is going to be mostly for the kids who grew up in the 90s like me, but it might help also remind people where Tasmania is on the map. But it feels like there's always going to be this background danger that a Tasmanian devil is going to blow through the distillery and knock everything out of action. Do you have any safeguards in place against this?
Tassie devils are. You would be surprised at how many of them there actually are, but you'd also be surprised that they're actually scavengers. They're not really hunters. Quite amazing animals. You do see them every so often, but the biggest danger at the distillery isn't Tassie devil. So I've in my time on the distilling floor, I've had a sheep walk into the distillery. We've had blue tongue lizards. So they're probably about that length. They're absolutely amazing creatures. So reptiles with bright blue tongues. But yeah, Tassie's got an incredible array of wildlife to keep you occupied.
Really interesting to hear the similarities and differences of distilling on the other side of the world. And I think really the strongest message from that is be intrepid, visit Islay, visit Tassie, go to the smaller places that make whiskey, and you'll get a pretty nice welcome.
Absolutely. It's been a real pleasure, Sam, and hopefully we can catch up again soon.
That'll be great. Take care now.
All right. Excellent. Cheers.
A strong scent of toffee apples dominates the underlying honey note, sweet on the palate, giving way to a spicy, warming finish.
Now that sounds a lot like a whiskey to me, and let's make this more interesting. It's not just a whiskey; it's a Balblair 1990.
Ooh, okay, it is a whiskey. It's Auchentoshan 12 years.
Yeah, it's the toffee apple is something I've heard quite a lot. We talk about caramel and toffee apples quite a lot in our whiskies, and I wonder, maybe some wines can go that way. A good mouthfeel which brings both sweetness as well as some bitter tannins. Blackberries, red currants, peaches all make for some intense fruitiness. Also some heavy spicing, pepper, cinnamon, and a hint of cumin.
Wow. Okay, I was 100% sure that was a red until you said peaches. I'm gonna go wine. Go on, I'll say wine.
Peaches nearly gave it away, but it was a whiskey.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought, how can I make this sound like a red? So it's a cask finished whiskey. It's the Tomatin Portwood 14-year-old.
Wow. Okay.
So peaches is a tell there. So everything.
Yeah, I think that's what made me. I was like, no, go on, go stick with your first.
There are a few UNESCO cities of music scattered throughout the world, and the UK lays claim to Liverpool and Glasgow. With branches always reaching towards modernity and firm roots buried in the soil of tradition, Glasgow is a perfect city for fishing out a little extra creativity from its residents. It's clear as a bell. I'm joined now by one such resident, Amber Conway, a Glasgow-born singer, songwriter and actor whose music borrows from old and new to meld them into something new and beautiful, all of their own. Amber, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Your style, I guess, could be described as country music injected with alternative pop, a bit of classic, a bit of new. How did you settle into your style?
My voice kind of sits naturally in like a country tone. So when I started writing my own songs, that was the route that I kind of went down. And then when I sort of kept writing, I wanted to try things like new things. I tried rap for a little bit, cut that out straight away. That was a no-go. But yeah, kind of, I tried to write sort of pop music, and it was sort of just naturally bubbled into what it is now.
Yeah, Glasgow has quite a great history of producing music. And do you feel that the atmosphere of your home city has been a big influence on you?
I think I'm very lucky to live in a big city that has so many live music venues. So being able to see so many live acts, like growing up and as a teenager, really influenced me.
Does whiskey play any part in your creative process at all?
I'm very new to the whiskey drinker society. But that's why I like this show so much, because I can kind of educate myself and sound a lot more sophisticated when I move on outside of the house, venture outside into a bar, and I can know what I'm talking about.
For sure. But for now, we don't need to keep people waiting any longer, because you did prepare a song for us. Would you like to introduce it now?
So this song is one of the first songs that I wrote and recorded. It's an original song by myself. It's called If I Still Love You.
I'll never understand why you make me feel so low when you can just stay high. Mama said you were a waste of time, and the longer I wait, the more you're proving her right. I loved you in the summertime, now my heart's in winter. It's just a little cold for mid-July. I'll have to wait and see if I still love you when the sun goes down. If I call for you, will you turn around? Do anything to let me know that you still love me too. I'll give you, baby, one more try. A man like you isn't hard to come by. Show me something, something real. I need to know just how I feel. And I'll see if I still love you when the sun goes down. If I call for you, will you turn around? Do anything to let me know that you still love me too. Do anything to let me know that you still love me too. Still love me too. Still love me too. Still love me too. If I still love you.
Pronounced, jumping out of the glass with almonds, toasty vanilla, sultanas and dried fruit. Palette of caramel, orange blossom, even a bit of pastry and icy sugar sweetness.
Ooh, now that one's tough. I'm gonna say it's a wine, and I'm gonna say it's a full-bodied white, maybe some kind of Chablis.
Oh, okay. It is a wine. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, right.
It is Château-Laville Chardonnay, so it is a very sweet wine.
That could so easily have been a whiskey. I was 50-50 on that one. Pungent on the nose, full of gooseberry and nettle aromas, and a liminess too. Really nicely textured, lemon rind, grassy flavours coming to the fore.
It's got to be a wine. It's got to be a wine.
It is. Jacob's Creek, Sauvignon Blanc.
yeah, that was quintessential wine.
In whiskey drinking circles, there is an art that was widely regarded as dark and deviant. But thanks to the tireless campaigning of people who wanted to break the status quo, it's now perfectly possible to add malt whiskey to a cocktail and be proud of the result. Nobody knows this better than Kevin Carr of Glasgow's Urban Bar and Brasserie. Last year, Kevin won Glenfarclas' first ever cocktail competition by designing a unique cocktail around the Glenfarclas 105 expression. His cocktail, the Green Grass Fizz, plays with both Glenfarclas' name and the strong flavours in their signature 105 whiskey. He joins me now to tell us more about the art of whiskey cocktails. Kevin Carr, welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's nice to have something to do during lockdown.
There was once a bit of standoffishness about putting whiskey into a cocktail. Is that something you'd say you've seen change over the years?
Definitely. I think there is still a little bit of standoffishness about malt, and to an extent I think that's almost a positive negative, because I think we should be really proud of the liquid we produce, and I would never suggest sticking, a beautiful 30-year-old whiskey in a cocktail. But I think there has been a necessity to change to make whiskey a little bit more accessible. And I think that's been a really positive thing. I think there is becoming a little bit more of a relaxed attitude to how we drink our whiskey. And from a personal point of view, I would never tell anyone how to drink their whiskey. For me, enjoy your whiskey, enjoy it the way you want to have it, the way you want to drink it, and everyone's going to be happy.
How do you generally approach making up a whole new cocktail?
But for me, I always start with the base spirit. So, say for example, if I was wanting to pair some flavours together, I would work back the way to get what spirit I would want to use. So if we were talking in Scotch whisky terms, if I was making something kind of tropical, maybe with pineapple, I'd work back to a Craigellachie or an Ardbeg. If I was making something with chocolate and coffee, I'd work back to a Talisker. So it's why it's important for bartenders to try a wide variety of liquids so that they can work back to get to what spirit would match their cocktail best.
Good excuse to try a wide variety of whiskies as well.
The samples help, Sam, I'm not going to lie to you. The samples help.
When you made your winning cocktail for Glenfarclas, you had to work with the Glenfarclas 105, which is a pretty strong spirit, really strong flavours,
Yes.
really strong in alcohol.
I personally love working with cask strength whisky because all the flavours are very densely packed together in the very beginning, and you can choose how you separate them out and what you want to highlight, but still keep the flavours and the intent that it's Glenfarclas 105. Because it's, in terms of the history of whisky, it's really important. It's not just a beautiful dram, it was the first commercially available cask strength whisky. So I didn't actually want to kind of dilute it out too much. I wanted to retain that cask strength, but also, it's not a first pet, it's a 60% whisky. So it had to be done in a way that could make it accessible to, a wide variety of people and hopefully introduce people to the concept of cask strength whiskies.
I have to say though, when thinking of making something accessible, green peas isn't the first place I go.
Obviously, Glenfarclas means Valley of the Green Grass. So I was intent on making this cocktail green come hell or high water. I wanted all the fruit flavour to come from the Glenfarclas because it is such a fruity whisky, and I wanted to highlight that without adding any extra fruit in. So sugar snap peas works really well with a lot of things. It kind of put a vegetal note underneath it, which highlights the sweeter things. So putting, that kind of vegetal note underneath it really made the kind of burnt caramel and toffee notes and the fruitiness really come to the fore, which is, for me, the accessible flavours in the 105. So those are the ones that I really wanted to highlight to an audience.
That's pretty inspired, I've got to say. So you head up the bar at Glasgow's Urban Bar and Brasserie. When this lockdown ends and we're able to start going to bars and restaurants again, tell us why the Urban Bar and Brasserie should be the first place people go to celebrate.
It should absolutely be the first time. I'm expecting to see you at the bar come hour zero. From a whiskey point of view, we've actually got a really, really good selection of whiskies. There's nothing I have on the back bar that I wouldn't drink myself, which is something that I pride myself in. And we were actually just about to launch a new cocktail menu before lockdown started, and we do actually have a full section of whiskey highballs. So if anyone actually wanted to, come and try this concept, it would be a really good place to start.
And then when folks come to visit, obviously you'll be there making the cocktails. So as a kind of teaser for that day, would you like to give us a taste of your cocktail making skills just now?
Absolutely. By the power of video editing, I will transport you to my bar.
So to Sam and everyone else, welcome to Urban. Today I am going to show you how to make my Glenfarclas 105 cocktail with the green Grass Fizz. So what we're going to do to start is we are going to muddle 3 cold sugar snap peas. It's really important that they're cold because as sugar snap peas start to heat up, they're going to cook and they've actually got a really rich flavour when they start to cook, and we only want this to tint the cocktail. We don't really want it to, overpower the flavour of the whiskey. We'll muddle them really lightly. What is really important is to twist as you muddle, just to kind of rip them open and really get the fragrance out there. Then we're going to add 25 ml of freshly squeezed lemon juice. That's going to give us a little bit of freshness, a little bit of zest, and a little bit of acidity, which is going to counteract and balance 20 ml of agave syrup. You could use a honey, but if you use agave, it kind of better matches the butterscotch notes in the 105, and it means the cocktail is also completely vegan. There we go. Now onto the main event. We are going to add 40 ml of the first commercially available cask strength whisky in the world, Glenfarclas 105. Lovely. Now you can see already the sugar snap peas are giving us a nice green tint. Glenfarclas don't use any artificial colourings, so we're going to keep with that same principle today. And we're going to add some ice. And we're going to shake. It's important to give that a really good shake because it is a 60% whiskey and you really want to let those flavours out. From there we are going to fine strain into our glass. Add ice. Then we're going to top it up with carbonated coconut water. Basically all I do is buy coconut water from the supermarket and use a soda stream, and that pairs really, really well with the whiskey. A couple of pineapple leaves to garnish, and there we have it, green Grass Fizz.
Glass with a nose of fruity aromas, raisins with fragrant header and cereal notes. Taste is sweet, fruity cereal flavours with a spicy edge. Floral, freshly cut grass notes. Finish is balanced, sweet and round.
Right. I'm focusing on the word heather, which is such a Scottish word that it's either a red herring or it's a sign that it's a whiskey. But maybe you're trying to fox me with that one. So I'm gonna say it's a wine and it's a Chateau Rothschild de Savigny-Balzac.
It's a whiskey. It's a whiskey. Milton Duff, 10 years old.
Ah, nice.
Milton Duff, aged 10 years.
A fresh, clean nose with hints of apples, pear drops, key lime pie and bubblegum fading to a cinnamon sugar aroma.
Oh, bubblegum. Bubblegum's an interesting one with wine. Go on, I'm gonna go whiskey.
I actually would have given it to you whatever you said because it's kind of both. It's whiskey done in a wine cask. It's a Glenmurray in a Chardonnay cask.
Oh, okay. That's some really interesting tasting notes there.
It's a really interesting whiskey as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That was really good.
Hopefully people like the sight of wine and whiskey enthusiasts geeking out over tasting notes without actually drinking anything, because this is bread and butter for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there you have it, another wonderful episode. Everything exactly according to plan. Nothing in the slightest to worry about. Oh, for goodness sake.
Simulation rebooting in 3, 2, 1.
Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more top shelf content just like this. And remember that this coming Saturday, or May 16th, will be World Whisky Day. So join me in raising a dram to mark the occasion. Have a great week, everybody.